So here's a wee query.
Yeah, wow.
First thing I suppose really is to look at the query itself. Lines 4 and 5, you can see have those specifics from the context. So making sure that we're looking for that waterfront location and the session number 2.
Yep, and if we look, line 6 is used to restrict the activities so that those that have an additional cost, in other words, the premium activities.
Yeah, because the rest come as part of the standard package, don't they?
Yep.
Okay, so line 7 is the grouping, which kind of isn't mentioned, but that's obviously going to make sure that each activity only comes up once, so they're stacked together for the count. And we can see at the top, obviously, that the count's being used in line 1.
Yep.
So that's all fine.
Yep. So we can also see that line 1, an alias has been used to produce a sensible heading for this column of the results table.
So I think now that we've looked at it, we should probably have a look at what the actual answer comes up as from this query.
Okay.
Oh.
Right. So I can see that the queries return 6 rows and that fishing with a total of 3 has been listed in the first row of the answer table, that's the same. That's what we expected.
It is, but if we think back to what the expected output was, there is some differences.
Okay.
So here's what the original one looked like. And as you can see, they don't match. The expected output and the actual output aren't the same.
Okay, I can see a difference now.
So there is still 6 rows,
Yep.
but they aren't in the correct order. For example, the bottom row is not powerboating with the 8 participants and water skiing instead. So it's in the wrong row, basically.
Okay, but I mean, am I right in saying it looks like the correct data has been returned and the totals are all accurate? It's just that the rows are in the wrong order.
Yeah, so the query has returned accurate data, but it hasn't met all of the requirements of the functional requirement. Okay.
Yep.
So now we've taken the time to think about the results, we have to then move on to the evaluation, to evaluate it.
Okay.
So let's move on a slide. Oops, I just did something there, but never mind, we don't need it.
Okay, hopefully not. Anyway, so yeah, earlier we said that higher and National 5 levels, pupils are expected to evaluate a query in terms of its fitness for purpose and its accuracy.
That's right. So I think we need to probably deal with them one at a time because they're two different things.
Yeah.
So first of all, we must decide whether we think this query is fit for purpose.
And a query is fit for purpose if it meets all of its requirements?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So have a look at this query here. So I mean, the results of this query, is it fit for purpose? If you can you let us know with the reactions? If you want to do a thumbs up to indicate do you think this one's fit for purpose, and a wow head to indicate if you think it's not fit for purpose.
So this is the query from the previous slide, yeah?
Yeah.
Most people saying, someone said on fire.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
I don't know if that's a good fire or not good fire. Most people saying exploding heads. So I think the majority agree here, David, the query isn't fit for purpose, yeah?
Yeah, no, it's not. Yeah, okay. So, but I mean, we need to explain why it's not.
Yeah.
It's not enough to say yes or no in the evaluation stage. It's expected to kind of refer to our kind of code or our database and say what it is that has been omitted within the context of that task.
And actually, I think we need a bit of technical knowledge. So how about this?
Okay.
I would be kind of expecting my kids to say something along the lines of,
okay,
the query is not fit for purpose because it doesn't have an order by clause to arrange the rows of the answer table. So the least popular activities first with the activities equally popular listed alphabetical to show the complex sort.
All right. Okay. Yep. I mean, that I'd probably say is pretty perfect as it comes to evaluation of its fitness for purpose. You've clearly stated that the query is not fit for purpose. You've given a reason for this, and it's related to the context of the task. And you've referred to the SQL code that you used in the query.
Yeah.
Now, what about the second part of the evaluation? So we've looked at fit for purpose, but is the query accurate? In other words, does the query produce accurate results?
I knew this was going to happen. We're going to have to go back, aren't we? So let's quickly look back at the expected output. Right. Oh, wow. The table's been moved. Thank you so much.
That was the thing I needed. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the previous frame.
Yeah. Okay. So when we compare the expected output with the answer table produced, we can see that the same 6 rows have been returned.
Yeah, so this is a bit where I struggle, but if we ignore the incorrect sequencing, the rows of the answer table and the total for each activity is actually right.
Yeah, so the query is accurate if the result it returns are accurate. So nothing has been omitted and no additional details have been included.
Yeah.
So I mean, again, a little bit of kind of thumbs up or head explosion here. Is this query accurate? Would you think it's accurate?
Yeah. I'm putting a thumbs up, but that's a bit I struggle with.
Yeah,
I think,
it's the difference between what I mean, kind of what the difference between fit for purpose
yeah,
and accurate. Fit for purpose is kind of much more about the context, where accuracy
yeah.
is kind of more about an isolated output, I would say.
Yeah, so I suppose the reason for this one is although the query's missing the order, the
Hmm.
count function has been used correctly to work out how popular each activity was.
Yeah.
So in addition, the query has correctly selected the premium activities that took place at the waterfront during session 2.
Yep. Okay. Yep. And once again, you kind of hit the nail on the head there. So your evaluation clearly stated that the query is accurate, and you've provided reasons for this using the context of the task, and you've referred to the relevant SQL statements used in the query. So yeah, I think you got that. Well done.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, we've almost come to the end of our first online session.
Yeah, I think we've kind of covered quite a lot of ground. We've written in a lot of detail here, and also we've highlighted areas of our courses that candidates have been finding difficult. The results nationally aren't where they should be for these topics.